Hi, my name is Tanya and welcome to Utility Jane. In autumn 23, I extended my small vegetable garden out into this area. I just put down cardboard and put down straw because I wanted to grow more things than what my smaller vegetable garden, which is now my terrace part of the garden that only has perennial things in it. I wanted to grow more tomatoes, more things that we love, more cucumbers, all those summer things. So I extended it out onto this lawn. Now, like I said, I just laid down cardboard and put straw on, and a couple of months later, after it had rained on it and everything, I started planting in it. Fast forward a year, and the thought of working this soil again got me thinking to the point of, I'm 55, do I want to be down on my hands and knees gardening for the next 10 years? Because I'm going to work this soil up for a vegetable garden. Do I want to be doing that? So I started thinking about raised beds, and within a week I had decided that I was going to make that same space that I extended and get some custom steel garden beds made for my 55th birthday, because I think if I am going to work soil for the next 5 years so that it is good for growing vegetables in it, I want to be able to do that comfortably. Hence, I've got these garden beds. Now, I've just planted them up and got tomatoes in them. I just got 2 beds filled and I have another 2 to go, and it's been a big thing because they hold a lot of soil, but I think it is worthwhile doing I'm thinking about the future me, aging, what's going to be easier. If I work the soil, all I have to do is just keep adding to the top of these beds and enriching it, and to the point where they're going to be set up and I'm going to enjoy them for many years to come. Now, in preparation for planting up the rest of the things, I set them out and then I went inside to cook so that I could spend the cooler part of the afternoon sorting out this little area. It was a mess by the time we'd wheelbarrowed in lots of dirt and lots of compost and straw and things. When I dug up my garden so that we could move these beds in, I had a full vegetable garden there of winter things like broccoli and peas and things, and rainbow chard. I pulled most of it out. I was lucky that a lot of the little rainbow chards hadn't quite taken off, so I planted them over against the fence and kept them under cover so that I could plant them back into the garden beds so that I could go out there and enjoy myself and not be thinking about dinner today or tomorrow. I set about making some food so that I could totally go out there and exhaust myself and enjoy it. I had some mince that I had cooked up in the pressure cooker. I decided on making a beef and vegetable pie. So this is it. I've cut up a whole heap of vegetables. I've got them in cooking and I have mixed dough, just a basic dough, and I'm going to make a pie. So let's make an easy, very basic meat and vegetable pie. I have carrots, potatoes, corn, peas, and onion, and I'm just adding some spices, my usual sweet paprika, some seasoned salt, and some pepper, a little bit of sugar, and some olive oil. And I've got all these things cut up, and I am just going to start frying them down. It is going into the oven with a pastry, and so I want it sort of half cooked. I'm going to make up a little slurry, which just was some flour and some salt and pepper. Here's the pastry. So I've got self-raising flour. This is gluten-free. This has got oat flour. I make lots of different types of pastry, and it's usually just what I have. So I've got some butter. I'm going to soften it up in the microwave, just keeping those vegetables moving so that they're all cooking. Just going to put a bit of yogurt in. I love plain Greek yogurt in the pastry, some salt, and then I'm just going to get that mixing. I'm going to add the softened butter, add the egg, and just get that mixing, all while keeping an eye and keep those vegetables moving. Now I'm going to add my pre-cooked beef mince. This is just mince that I have cooked in the pressure cooker with some passata and a few spices, and I put it on and cook it down, and it makes life so easy. I can make this into lasagna, I can make pies, I can make spaghetti, I can put it in bags and keep it for later on. It's extremely fast and easy to use. It makes for a quick meal. I never know measurements. I just gauge on what I see, how much I usually need to fill my pie dish. So we've got the pastry all mixed and it's come together really nice. I'm just going to put it on some paper, bring it together properly, and then I'm going to leave it to sit and rest. I was so happy when I came in from the garden that I had done this. I knew I'd be exhausted because there was so many little things that I wanted to do after it being such a construction site. I mean, it still is a construction site there, but tidying up one little spot was something I felt I really wanted to do. So I was extremely happy that I did this and prepped and made life easy for myself, because the next day I did go to work, so it helped with that as well. Now while that is all cooking, I pack my dishwasher, so I'm cleaning as I go so that I'm not feeling overwhelmed. Everything's on there and cooking. And then I thought, with the oven on and I've got rhubarb, I'm going to go and pick some rhubarb and I'm going to make a rhubarb and apple pudding. So I'm just pick some rhubarb, going to get all the leaves cut off and just leave them here on the garden bed. I love that colour. The colour of rhubarb stalks is wonderful. I've just added another plant in another area. This is my perennial vegetable bed, and I've just added another rhubarb to there, and it's a giant one. I couldn't plant it here, so I'm looking forward to seeing that fill in a corner. Got some sweet peas are still flowering. And now I just walk along here. There's another, I've got a cluster of about 5 rhubarb here behind an apple tree. There's some celery plants, and I'm going to pick a asparagus spear to chew on because they are so good. There's a few little ones there that I'm waiting to add to a salad, and I'll get some lemon balm on my way in so I can make myself a cup of tea. I'm just making the most of things while they're out and growing. Got some sage. I thought that would look pretty with the sweet peas, so I'm going to put those into a little jug. I love to have a little bunch of flowers, something from the garden that you can see as you're walking around inside. Just makes a little corner of the kitchen a reminder of what's going on outside. Get all this rhubarb washed. I'm going to chop the ends and just re-chop them because I cut them with my garden scissors. So now I'm going to chop them on the diagonal, and just something really, really simple. I am going to fry them in a pan. I've just added some dried parsley to the beef mixture. Going to get this rhubarb into this fry pan, some butter, plenty of butter, some coconut sugar, so it gives it that caramel taste without it being overly sweet. And I've still got plenty of lemons. They're so juicy, they've softened up, and they're just wonderful. We're having those every day, so I'm going to put some of those into the sauce rather than add water. If I didn't have lemons, I would have just added a little drop of water just so that things don't stick while they start to cook. Just going to mix those around, get a lid on, and get that steaming. This meat mixture is looking wonderful. It's cooking through. I don't need it to be fully cooked, but I'm going to start on the pudding cake. So I've got flour, I've added salt, some vanilla, some oat flour, some coconut sugar, some yogurt, because I have yogurt and it needs to be used up, so I'm just using it in place of milk or any kind of liquid. I've got some cinnamon going in. I've got 4 eggs. And I've got the butter. This just goes to show that really nothing needs to be exactly measured, is that when you have a basic cake recipe that you just use what you want, you know what you can swap out. You don't have to have exact measurements. I never have exact measurements, and although it doesn't always turn out exactly the same, it's never far from it. You know, if this had have been a little dry, I would have got a little bit of milk and added to it, and it would have been fine. As it was, I wanted it quite a stiff mixture so I could put it on top of the rhubarb. I'm going to add some apple to that so that there is enough fruit in underneath this cake, and this turned out delicious. Everyone is eating it. No one is going, oh, it's rhubarb. The cake was delicious, so soft with a crusty top. I top it with a little bit of sugar, which was so nice and crunchy. So I'm just going to use some canned apples. It's not apple season here, so we are just using some canned apples. They can sit in my pantry and I can just have apples. They are local apples, but just so easy and versatile. Now I've used a bit over half a can. The rest of this can I did not waste. I put into a container and I then made icy poles with it. So pineapple, apple and lemon juice icy poles, which were so delicious as well. So refreshing to have. As you can see, it's like a muffin sort of mix. It's a stiffer mix, and I'm just heaping it in there. Don't waste it. Scrape it all out. Put that in there, and then I'm just using a knife just to spread it gently across so that it covers it. I don't need it to be perfect, and I'm just going to put a little sprinkle of raw sugar on top. That'll give it that crunch, and then I'm going to get it in the oven and get it cooking because I have plenty of things to go in the oven, like 2 pies. Added some water to the slurry, and I'm going to put that in just to thicken it up just a little bit so that when you go to scoop out your pie, it doesn't run everywhere. A little bit more salt and pepper, and like I said, it only needs to be half cooked because it's going into the oven. Had enough to make that tiny little pie, which will go into my freezer. We're going to eat the bigger one for dinner. I'm just going to add a bit of egg and milk on top so I can put some sesame seeds on, which I love to have. You don't need to do this. You don't even need to put egg and milk mix on. You just could put it in the oven just as it was. But I did put a few little spikes with the knife just to release the air. To use up all the meat, I then used up some more of the pastry, and so I didn't have a tiny little bit of pastry sitting in my fridge. I have rolled it out. Now this pastry, it's not savory and it's not sweet, so you can turn it whichever way you want. I had got some lemon marmalade that I made a couple of months ago. I just put some of that on the pastry, the bit of pastry that I had left over, rolled it out, put the lemon marmalade on. I'm going to use the egg mix to go around the sides, and I'm going to add a little bit of sugar around the edge. This was delicious. We just had it like a biscuit. Got it out, I let it cool, and I sliced it into pieces, and it was like a little lemon biscuit. Rather than putting it in the back of the fridge and it being wasted, because what can you do with a tiny bit of pastry like that? This is what my mother and my grandmother used to do with leftover bits of pastry. There's a little bit, they'd put it all together, they'd put either a bit of cheese on it if it was a savory one, or a bit of jam on it and roll it up, or cut it up. It was always the favorite little treat before having dessert. So this is it. This is everything I've cooked. The apple and rhubarb pudding. I'm going to have some right now. And while I was waiting for things to cook, I made a plant-based whipped cream that I'm going to have with it. All these things were cooled. The little pie went into the freezer. The little lemon biscuits got put into a container after they were cooled and cut up. And this we enjoyed. And just from a couple of hours, probably not even, lots of food cooked, and I could go out and enjoy my garden. This is my side garden. I've been slowly adding a few more things into this garden, and it's filling out. The roses have started to bloom. I showed you this in my thrifting video, that it was a garden that I painted, that fence at the end there, and that I'd been working on, and thanks to the possum, our resident possum, he's been keeping it trimmed at the top. And this is the work that I had done during the afternoon, and got this footage after I had finished. I'd mowed the lawn and planted in all these things, moved all the chard, and trim my box hedge. There are my tomatoes. They're just starting to flower. Thank you so much. I appreciate your company. If you'd like to subscribe, see more of my vegetable garden, I'd love to see you in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.